Hello, this one's for the lefties, the institutional leftists. I beat your federal mental health system. It took me about 30 years, give or take, to defeat your mental health system, but I've done it. This is how I went about it. I didn't go to school. I didn't go to that institution of yours. I'm smarter than the people you crank out who are dummies because of it. But that was the beginning. I said, well, no, in this free country, you have to do what we tell you, like go to school. And I said, fuck you. So they said, oh, we're going to start taking you to the hospital. I said, fuck them too. So when I was a very little boy, they started taking me to the hospital. The mental hospital, okay? And forever relegated me to special ed and that kind of thing, and have been inserting me through the court system or whatever into these operations that they've got. Well, the thing about me is I either didn't have insurance or I had Medicare. This is fundamental. Medicare only pays 80% on the dollar that the hospital spends when I'm imprisoned in there illegally. So it was always my understanding that the more I went to these hospitals and the longer I stayed, the faster they'd go bankrupt. It might take 30 years, it might take 10 lifetimes, but it's a truism. So every time I'd go to these places, because it became this thing, it was a political hit job. It had nothing to do with mental health and the fact that people were racists and they didn't like me. They're bigots, they don't like me. They're political as hell and they don't like me because I spit in their political face. So they persecute me with their institutions, most notably being mental health. So that it would always happen where somebody would come up with a lie, a Democrat would come up with a fucking lie, and the police would show up and take me away. Now, there's been many police who have been disgraced and left the job because of this. I've disgraced entire police departments because of this. And they know it. So the police would show up and say, oh, you're dangerous, even though I'm not. Even though the story of me having like an atom bomb in my living room wasn't true. Oh, well, we're going to take you anyways. Okay, political persecution. Sure, I put behind my back again and arrest me for a crime I didn't commit. Take me to the hospital so I can get an assessment from a psychiatrist who's also a fucking lefty and a bitch, a little cunt, okay? Who's going to say, oh, geez, yeah, looks like we're going to have to keep you. Without looking at anything, she got the word from the racist and the political bigot to put me in there. So, okay, it was brought to me as this thing like, we might let you go, right? Which is a fucking lie. They're not going to let me go. They're going to keep me there for as long as they can because they think that's how they're going to win, even though I've already outlined one truism about Medicare that leads to them going bankrupt instead. So it's like, well, geez, we're going to have this, we're going to look at you and assess and do this. And guess what? Oh, we're going to have to keep you. Thanks, great, because, I really need your guys' help. And they get pissed. Owen is supposed to get angry at us when we take away his freedom and imprison him in our psychological unit. He's supposed to get angry and go off, but he's not. I hate this guy. So they bring me in there, they'll process me in there, and they'll begin to abuse me in there. Which I just absorb because I'm a good Christian, And I'll take all the stupid things and all the bullshit classes and the comments and the rudeness, okay, and the bigotry and the racism. And the politics that always come from, because everybody's a fucking lefty in these institutions. So then they'll come around and they'll say like, we're thinking about letting you go because you've been a really good patient and setting me up again. We're going to have another meeting, they say, and we're going to consider letting you go because you've been the best patient ever. I mean, literally, if they were going to tell the truth, they'd say, you are the least mentally ill, best patient we've ever had. You even help us do therapy. You're a better therapist than the lead therapist, if they were going to be honest. You're a boon to us because you're actually a mental health professional. So we're gonna consider letting you go. Great. But then I say to them, well, when you go into your meeting to decide that you're going to keep me here for longer, remember that Medicaid only pays 80 cents on your dollar. So the longer I'm here and the more I'm here, the more money you guys lose. So when you go to decide to keep me here, know that I know that it's not an economic drive that's keeping me here. It's actually the opposite of you're hemorrhaging cash with your decision that you've already made, that you said you're going to go make about keeping me here. Know that I know that it's political. It's not economic, because you're going to go bankrupt. Okay. So know that I know that you're a racist, bigot, political hack. Okay. And if you were a medical professional, my personal opinion on you wouldn't factor in, would it? So go make your decision. And they come back around and they go, we've decided to keep you here for another week. And I go, great, excellent, because the food's so good. I love it here. You may as well keep me forever, right? Why don't you just keep me forever then? Oh, because you can't. Because you actually, if you're going to commit somebody long term, you actually have to have a reason. Yeah. So then, so this has been going on throughout many states: New York State, Florida, West Virginia, I think, and South Carolina now, to where I've won. South Carolina has this thing where when they illegally imprison you in their mental health facility for having not committed a crime, they bring the bullshit they have a kangaroo court in there too, and they say, we're going to bring you to court. And I say, this court is not legally binding. This is bullshit. Your court's a kangaroo court. Any verdict that you render, any decision, sentence, anything that you decide in this courtroom won't stick. Oh yeah, they said, yeah. Okay, well, if you want to get out of here, you have to sign this agreement from the marriage court that says that you're going to do mandatory 2 years out. Boom, signed it. Do I do the outpatient? No, I fucking don't. Until the 2 years are up. But of course, I force them to give me my medication, because that's one thing I learned. They're going to force medication on people who do not want the medication and refuse the medication, and then use their refusal of the medication as a reason to persecute them further. So I picked up on that these pills are sugar pills. They don't do shit. And if me taking them I'm made of fucking granite. I'm tungsten. And these pills are sugar. So I can metabolize these and shit them out no problem without any kind of mental effect. So give me those pills. That's your obligation, I kept saying to them. Would you deny insulin to a diabetic? No, you wouldn't. I used that because that's what they used on me. Well, this medication that we're prescribing to you, it's almost like it's the same thing as being a diabetic. You just need your insulin in the form of this psychiatric medication. Give me my fucking psych meds then. And they didn't want to. So we went around the ringer of guess whose job it is to prescribe me my pills that I need, my insulin. Yours. So I finally, after enough just demands, obvious, you have a responsibility, they finally acquiesced and stopped fucking around with me. And I'd even changed the medication. I don't like this medication anymore, and I want a new medication. So they'd have to do a bunch of paperwork they didn't want to do and switch the med and act like they enjoy doing that, right? And they're not lazy fucks. So gotta give me my med. They give me my meds now. I get my fucking meds. So then I needed therapy. I decided I need therapy. So I called them up and they said, geez, well, I'm glad that you called up. After like 2 weeks of therapy, they tried to say that was me agreeing to the 2-year mandatory outpatient order. After 2 weeks of therapy, they just threw that at me. Hey, you're done. I'm done with what's been like 2 weeks. What are you talking about? Oh, well, you're done with your therapy because the order's over. What order? Oh, from that kangaroo court. Oh, so that's so I don't need therapy anymore. No, sir, you don't. Well, yeah, I do, because boy, am I mental. And so you want to stay in the program. Yeah. So ever since then, it's been like, okay, I completed therapy. It was like, we have to set up goals. Like, what's a goal that you want to set for yourself, Owen? Getting out of bed in the morning. Ooh, good one, because a lot of people can't do these simple things. Getting out of bed. Getting out, riding my bike, I think, that's a goal that I'm walking. The dog is another one that I could do. Ooh, and suddenly, after 4 or 5 months, I've met all my goals, and I don't need it. And it became obvious, like, I won. They don't want anything to fucking do with me anymore. I defeated an entire federal, nationwide institution, okay? They fear lawsuits because of what they did to me. But they and I know, and so does Dr. Marugu, that I fucking won. So do you want to do that again? What's the next institution I should target? Leave it in the comments and give me 25, 30, 40 years and you will see them kowtow to me.